Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. It's time to finally put a close on Doom Week, and that means that it's my turn to pick the song that we're going to check out from the poll. And I picked a song that I know nothing about. that's kind of the deal with these things. I don't know what I'm getting into. However, I've seen a lot of YouTube comments kind of asking for specific bands for specific reasons, and one of my patrons was kind enough to listen to everything on the poll and sort of classify everything a bit. And with the mix of those two, I ended up picking a song that, I chose it based on its properties. It is sort of an experimental doom with a female lead, is what I kind of know about it. However, I didn't know I was picking a 15.5-minute song. So I guess we're in for a bit of a small doom epic. And yeah, let's get into this. Pause the video, grab a snack, grab some water, stay hydrated, and yeah, 15-minute song, get comfy. Let's go. Alright, we got a light drone coming in. Maybe more like ambient sounds. Oh, and this song is called Despair is a Siren. Forgot to introduce that one properly. Alright, so we have a 3 or 6 pulse going on. Waiting for drums to figure out if we're in 3/4 or 6/8. Definitely a little bit of melancholy in here, but a little of uplifting, kind of interesting for doom. And just gorgeous. The bass and the guitar just playing those nice chord lines. Her voice just fits nicely on it. We got muted plucking. We got a lot of tension going into this too. Emphasizing beat 1 on the lyrical lines, even if it doesn't work within the rhythm of language. Yeah, I think we're in 3/4 here. a little pitchy on the harmonies, but I think it's intended. I like the little separation there in the middle. Dude, this is gorgeous. Adding both of these lead lines at the same time on top of the guitar work is just... bringing back the tension. The emphasis choice just make it sound so alien. We've either got some real strong reverb or some ridiculous tremolo picking going on. And almost like some sort of screeching dissonance over here. Total transformation of this song. Move to 4. We've got a dragging down effect. Not only just in the tempo shift, but the instruments are just sliding down in pitch. the accelerometer going on, it's really hard to tell what happened there, but I think we were alternating 4 and 5 pulses. But for all I know, that could have just been a bunch of 1-1. 1-4? I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to listen to that a few more times to figure out what's going on there. Her ability to just kind of switch between these two vocal styles is phenomenal. Now see, this seems a bit sludgy to me compared to what we've listened to. Definitely an emphasis on the speed rather than the weight. Not to say they aren't putting some emphasis on the weight. Dude, the string work is... And I hear a flute now? of a timelessness here, right? This is a good way to end the song. Okay, that was something. That was an experience. Um, dang. Oh man, there's so much good stuff to talk about here. I am so glad I snagged this one. I mentioned at the beginning I was a little uh, worried about the length. I've mentioned a few times this week that Doom is just really weighty and kind of sits you in this emotion and makes you sit in it. A lot of that comes down to the slower tempo, and I was a little concerned. I was like, oh, geez, 15 minutes straight of just wallowing in this weight, and I'm like, whoa, that's gonna be a tough one. But dang, talk about a pleasant surprise. One of the few times that I've gone in with the wrong expectations and I think had a better experience for it. Usually it's the other way around. I go in the wrong headspace and I end up not really enjoying it as much as I should have because I was expecting something totally different. Um, so just on the surface, we're not really going to dig into any theme yet, any narrative ideas, but I do love how they take the concepts of doom, the distortion, the tension usually derived from dissonance, the slow tempo, the weightiness, right? Really letting everything breathe and sit on display to be heard. And they say, how can we emphasize this? You know, in a 5-6 minute Doom song, maybe a 10-minute Doom song, if I'm sure there's some out there. I don't know how prevalent they are, but 10 minutes of sitting in the same emotion is going to have a reduction of effect. And I've mentioned this a lot in the past. The best way to really elevate a certain emotion or to keep an emotion fresh for an extended period of time is really to add contrast, right? If you want a song to be, you really want a loud section to be super explosive, you put a quiet section before it. This is not something that we just do in music. We see this even in storytelling, how we have a bit of the roller coaster effect where you have your rising action and your car chase or gun shootout or martial arts fight or whatever. Then you rest a bit, you get some storytelling and your characters have a little bit of downtime. Then you move into the next action scene and you do this up and down thing, and it creates this contrast that elevates each of the sections. And I'm really, really glad they went with this route. 15 minutes of sitting in that heaviness would definitely have been an experience. We have seen stuff like this when we checked out the Krallis track. Having an extreme sound and sitting in it for an extended period of time. It definitely is an experience. But um, I am very much a fan of contrast. I think it's the best way to get the most out of your writing, unless you're really going to hone in on a single idea. If the point of your song is to really drive home an idea, yeah, you probably really don't want to back off of it. Not for too long, anyways. Taking that Krallis example, it was like 15 minutes of just ridiculously fast tremolo picking and growling. There is nothing like it. It is a very unique experience, right? It delivers a very specific experience over a very long time, and I don't really think I've heard anything like it. So there's definitely room artistically, or even if you just enjoy that, I guess on a casual level, there's room for just exploring a specific idea without contrast, just really digging into it. But like I said, I'm a huge fan of contrast. I think it is the best way to get the most explosive results. Um, if you really want a slow, heavy part to feel weighty, you put a nice, airy, quieter section before it. And the sort of back and forth that we have here, especially starting off with the way they did with the uh, going up the chords and going up and down the chords on the guitar, having a little bit of a walking bass line, and then the gorgeous, sort of airy, maybe a little bit of vulnerable female lyrics at the beginning was just, it allowed that weight to almost be like a sucker punch. When the distorted guitars came in and her voice dropped and got sort of that uh, angstiness to it, almost like a wrath. The way that she manipulated her voice, we're gonna get on that because her vocal technique is just wow. That blew me away. But yeah, when she came in with those vocals and the distorted guitar came in, and we really switched from a lot of the beautiful kind of chordal work to the really tense stuff, and we brought in those. I think they were pads. Um, I was going back and forth the whole time whether they were just sort of manipulated violins or if they were pure, like electronic pads or something like that. And I'm still not 100% sure, but they feel like pads to me, so that's what I'm gonna go with. The dissonant pads came in. We had one in each side though, and they were both doing their own thing, both being a bit dissonant and really introducing a lot of tension. Um, and it was just like the sucker punch when all this stuff came in. We're like, oh man, for me it hit a lot harder because I was already taken off guard with some of the more melodic, more beautiful and ethereal sounds going on. And I think that's actually a really good way to kind of contrast these two parts is ethereal and weighty. The concept of not having, a physical matter and then having weight. I think that's really the best two ways to go about, looking at these two sections. Really emphasizes sort of the ideas that I got out of them. Um, and then I think we did that twice, sort of a verse chorus concept, and that took us to the descent, right? Um, the descent's kind of a thematic thing. I said I wasn't going to talk now. I guess we're going to get into some narrative ideas here. Um, so I don't really know what was going on in the lyrics, unfortunately. Um, there were a lot of instrumental layers for me to dig into and a lot of work going on with the narrative aspect of the music rather than just honing in on the lyrics. So I didn't really have much of a chance to check them out. But we had the verse, chorus, and that was kind of the back and forth between, like I said, sort of the ethereal and then the weightiness. Um, and at this point, I thought I had a pretty good grasp on what was going on. And once again, these guys kind of swept the rug out from under me and they brought in the descent. Now, being that the song is called Despair is a siren. Sirens, of course, are beautiful mythical creatures that lure you in with their beautiful voice and then devour you or kill you or hold you captive depending on the myth that they're from. But it's about hiding danger behind beauty, right? That's sort of the core thread to the myth of the siren. And I don't think that that concept is lost here. I don't know how much of the song is dealing with um, sort of being lured into despair. I know we hear about that a lot in our modern storytelling books, movies. There's always an allure to despair, especially when you've been beaten, and usually the protagonist ends up, defeating the despair and getting out of it and stuff like that. But usually despair is shown as sort of an alluring concept. Once you've been defeated and the despair is there, and it's sort of like, hey, man, you don't have to get back up. That's the hard work, right? Just stay down, man. And you don't have to work that hard. Just lay here. You'll be fine. And that sort of concept of despair being the easy route, I think, is where this title comes from, about despair being a siren. And maybe the verse chorus is sort of a back and forth of maybe it could be the siren. Actually, we have the beauty and then the danger sort of going back and forth. Maybe the narrator is listening to despair. I don't know. I probably should pull the lyrics up. If they are right here, I will pull them up. If they are not, they are right here. Uh, this is laced with metaphor. All right, I'm not probably not going to be able to dissect this on the fly. Not it's not my strong point to begin with, but definitely when it is not a straightforward set of lyrics. All right, so anyways though, we have this concept of beauty hiding some danger. But I think the real interesting part is what comes right after that. What I was talking about is the descent. It is the part of the song where we start to really explore some of the doomier elements in the writing. Because up until now, we have had the tension, we have had a slower tempo, we have had a lot of the dissonance that we see, and a lot of letting notes really hang out and be heard. But we explore them to an extreme right here. First of all, we have the descent. We literally have the tempo slowing down. We have the instruments sliding down in pitch. Um, this is where I think that those violin. This was one of those sections where those violins were giving me a heavy pad influence because they were just bending further than I think a violin could. Even if you sort of ran down the string, you're still only gonna get. I don't know how many octaves are on a violin string. I don't know. Even say it's 1.5. I don't know if that's accurate. Violins have really short necks. I don't know if that's entirely accurate. Um, but even say that you can get 1.5 octave. We went further than that. We pulled 2, 3 octaves easy in a seamless slide. Um, so while I'm not gonna say it couldn't be done with a real violin, it's one of those things. Other than sort of a metallic sound to it, but like I said, that could also have been some sort of processing on the violin playing. But this is one of those sections where I was like, yeah, it's probably an electronic instrument. But yeah, we just have this constant slide down in tempo, in pitch, and it is basically the fall into despair. This is the core moment when I assume the protagonist has, given in. And from here on out, we see the slowest section of the song. And I would also wager it's the heaviest. I would, I have to go back and listen. But I almost want to say that the uh, distortion on the guitars was even cranked up a little bit. Maybe there was some post processing clipping added to maybe even all the instruments to really give it that extra crunch and weight to it. Um, like I said, I got to go back. There's just so much happening at this point. I can't remember all the details. But yeah, this is just spirit crushing. This whole section was just heavy, weighty. Every instrument was in on it. Every instrument was adding layers of pressure, of tension, of dissonance, of just raw weight. Um, and even when we started to gain some momentum, because we saw a lot of tempo shifting right here. We saw and so we saw the tempo shifting gradually down, but as we were moving out of this section and coming back into the, I think we revisited the chorus after this. We had a gradual tempo shift. And it was interesting because sometimes it seemed gradual and sometimes it seemed to be step piece. And I don't even know how you would write that. Like you would write an accelerando across the 4 bars or whatever to get your gradual, and then you would signify you want your accelerando to go to this tempo, but then your next bar would have to start 10 15 beats per minute faster. Geez, it sounds like a nightmare to write. It's so much easier to just kind of explain that this is what you need to do, let's do it. And so yeah, that's interesting that I'm starting to think about that. But yeah, this whole section is, I kind of see it as the climb out of despair maybe. Um but it is not an easy climb out of despair. We see a lot of difficulty. I'm even going to say in the performance. The tempo is wild and all over the place. I couldn't even tell the time signature through the latter half of this section. It was ridiculous. I said at one point that I wouldn't even be surprised if we were in 1-1, as just an easy way to write bars. Like, we're going to play this note at this tempo, and this note at this tempo, and this note at this tempo. Um, some of the sections just seem to kind of step up the tempo in those steps rather than something more gradual like an accelerando. But then other times when we kind of reached the faster tempos, probably about twice the speed of where we started, um, I'd say we got into more of a smooth transition accelerando concept going on there, but I still just have no idea what that time signature was, and I'm gonna say that there's a lot of polymeter going on. It was either the fact that it was in 1-1, you just play a whole note, and it gets the beat every time you have a new beat, you play a new note, or the other thing is that the time signature was hidden in the polyrhythms. Basically, the notes that the instruments were playing and the rhythm that the drums were playing were not within the time. Neither one of them. They both had their own, and they were not within the time signature. Um, and that just seems to be complexity for complexity's sake. Um, I don't think it'd be as easy to write or as easy to read as the 1-1. I'm also really curious how many people are in this band. It started out with just the drum, the guitar, the singer, the bass. And then we had the pads come in, so maybe a keyboard player. But by the end, we also had I swear they were pure violins, not pads, and a flutist, maybe 2 flutists, or one flutist doing 2 tracks. How many people are in this band? And also, do they have a conductor? Right? I've played music without conductors. A lot of my jazz playing has been conductorless. You sort of just kind of key in to the bassist and the drummer, who hopefully have worked together in some capacity, at least practiced together. And they're going to have a strong sort of chemistry going on. And they're going to provide the backbone to the rest of the band. You basically just listen into your drummer. If they're going to rush, you rush with them. But usually you have a really strong rhythm section, and they're called the rhythm section because they're going to keep you in rhythm. They're gonna give you the beat. They're not gonna rush or drag or anything. And of course, uh, I've played in a rock band before. You don't have conductors for rock bands. But you only have 4 people there. And outside of like some super hyper proggy stuff, which I never got into, I was more of a standard punk rock kind of stuff. Um, but you usually don't enter anything that's really difficult time wise or tempo wise where you would need a conductor to keep everybody together. Plus, there's only four of you, so kind of the chemistry of working together and practicing together, you only have four people to really keep in the same idea. But yeah, the wild tempo shifts there at the end, it's just to think of a handful of people. Uh, Seven is kind of where I'm counting at, 6 or 7, to run through that section. Like I said, sometimes we have smooth, gradual tempo increases. Other times we have, steps, and it's just I don't. It just seems like a nightmare to perform that properly. So yeah, just on a performance level, it just kind of blows my mind. Um, I, let's see. The only other thing I really want to touch on, I'd say, would be the vocalist and just her, like, man, just kind of having that sort of raspy, uh, like aggressive. I don't know. I don't know how you would describe it. Like, it wasn't. There was a little bit of raspiness to it, but I wouldn't say that it was a distorted clean. But it definitely lost sort of that vulnerability and airiness that she was showcasing at the beginning, and instilled a lot of strength and power, and maybe a bit of scorn, rage. Um, I don't know. It was a very emotionally textured vocal style. And I don't think that I got enough of it, in the fact that I am left wanting to hear more. I don't know how much more I could take of it. Like, I don't know if it would become a vocal style I go out of my way to listen to, but being such a novel concept to me, um, I need more of it right now. Like I said, it's got a lot of the sort of power and sometimes anger that you would find in some metal growls, but it's not super raspy. It has that emotional complexion without that textural concept that I'm not too big of a fan of. And just that combination of delivering the emotional aspect without the textural, um, yeah, it's something. It's going to be lodged in my brain for a little bit. I'm probably going to come back to this song. I know I'm going to come back to this song quite a few times, especially just to figure out that middle section. But yeah, I think this is going to be one of those earworms, which is really interesting. Doom so far has not delivered anything that I would say I need more of. I've mentioned a couple of times that I think it would work if I was in the correct headspace, if I just needed something like this. Maybe I was feeling something similar and it would be cathartic to listen to music that um, sort of matched my mental state or my emotional state. But it's not something I'm going to go out of my way to listen to just casually. But this song specifically has captured me a bit. Like I said, it's I think it's gonna be stuck in my head for a little bit, even though it's not super catchy. Usually the stuff that earworms is gonna be something catchy or something with poppier vocals or something a bit more upbeat in the instrumental work. And there's nothing in here I could really hum, I would say. That I would classify as catchy, but it's definitely going to be stuck in my head. Just the concept of it. I'm going to be thinking about it more so than reliving it. I guess is usually what happens when you get to earworms. It's a different kind of sort of fascination, I suppose. I'm so glad I didn't forget about this. The chorus where the vocalist brings in the angrier vocal style. I mentioned that part was in 3, and she emphasizes the downbeat, right? The interesting thing is that she emphasizes the downbeat of 1 every bar, even if it doesn't fit normal speaking patterns. Like, she emphasizes words that nobody would emphasize if they were just normally saying that sentence, and it really creates a sort of otherworldly it just adds to that otherworldliness of her vocals. Like I said, the style itself being like it kind of airs towards the more, I don't want to say demonic, but maybe just like, I don't know. I wish I had the vocabulary to properly enunciate my thoughts about her vocal style. It is sort of beyond words for me. Um, it is sort of alien in a way. Like I said, it sounds like she should be getting raspy. She should be entering some fry area in her vocal style. Whether just due to the raw emotion, the state that she seems to be in, that her character is in, or the narrator or whatever. Um, and it just doesn't happen, so my brain kind of hears that as being really unique, but then just the way that she enunciates and the rhythm of her speech is also a bit odd to me, and it just mixes in to be this really interesting character in this story, at least as far as my ears go. So yeah, that's just another thing that's going to sort of enthrall me for a bit. Just that section, and then the climb back up. And then I do like how it doesn't end cleanly, right? We don't have a pure resolution. We don't end on a super rocky chord, but I think we do end in the middle of a musical line. I don't know. I remember the ending feeling a bit jarring, and I don't remember why I remember that. Like, I don't remember what was exactly going on, but it was either that we were on a non-resolved chord progression, or we were in the middle of a melodic line. But assuming that this is about despair, I kind of like that concept that the story's not over. Um, Despair, kind of like depression, is something that for most people it is, if you struggle with it once, you're probably going to struggle with it throughout your life, and it's more about dealing with it than defeating it, getting rid of it. And I like how the ending of the song is kind of left open. Is the despair going to come back? Have they conquered it? Kind of thing. So yeah, that is me talking way too long about a single song. um, yeah. All right, so we're gonna end this one. That's my thoughts, though. This is where you guys come and hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you thought of Let me know what you thought of Subrosa's "Despair is a Siren." Let me know if you agree with me, if you disagree, if you have any context. Kind of helps me understand what's going on in some of the parts that I'm lacking. And yeah, I guess if you have maybe some insight into these lyrics. Like I said, there's a lot of colorful language going on as far as double entendres and metaphors. A lot of speaking in between the lines. Definitely not something I'm going to be able to rip apart on my own. Just not my strong suit. I'm more of a music guy than a poem guy. But that's fine. Everybody's got their strengths. So, like I said, if anybody has sort of a translation from metaphor into blunt, I would like it. To kind of be tossed that, so I can understand this a little bit more. Like I said, I love a lot of what's going on in the music and the story that I got out of the music itself, and sort of elevate that with the lyrics and tie it into a neat package. I'd appreciate it. When you're done commenting, there's a description box with some links adjacent to the channel if you're interested in any of that. Links to the Patreon if you want to help support the channel. There's also links to the Discord if you want to join the community and chat with other Critical Reaction fans. Yeah, the Discord's great. Join it. Do it. It's free. It's awesome. And if you could like, subscribe, and ring the bell, they help out the channel immensely. And if you want to be notified about when I drop new videos, it can help you out immensely. If you don't want to be notified, and maybe you're more of a traditionalist, you like to do pen and paper, you just got a fantastic memory, I'm on every night, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC. That is when I'll be back tomorrow. starting this weekend's special selection. Alright, then we'll be back Monday with next week's theme. Until next time, you guys stay safe out there, keep being awesome, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.